And part of the demand is for a basic income grant to be finalized or at least be implemented by government. And the demand is that individuals who have no means in the country must at least get over 1,000 rand per month. Is that something that you think the finance minister could possibly announce?
Well, good morning, Xolani. That is quite a big question here this morning. And of course, as we know, the basic income grant is something that has been touted for a while. And it's a big question because even the social relief of distress grant, which is currently at 350 rands, it's a big talking point as to what the requests have been to say increase it every year, that SRD grant, by inflation-related increases, and that would take it to around 380 rands per month. There are almost 9 million people who are getting those grants, but there is no money to fund these grants. You will remember that the first time government paid the social relief of distress grant after COVID-19, it was because the mining companies had a huge windfall with commodity prices running high, and about 40 billion rands in royalties that were being paid by mining companies to the government was actually used for the first year. So yes, it would be great to have these things. They are nice to have, but there are a lot of demands, including the fact that our expenditure is far outstripping the revenue, the money we collect every year. And that is why there is talk now of what is going to really happen to the social relief of distress grant come the March 2024 end date. And we know that that decision only lies with the President together with Cabinet. We are not likely to hear any news around that for this mid-term budget policy statement, but we could hear about that come a few months' time in February. But to hear more on that and what they expect is the ANC MP and the Chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations, Mr. Sifiso Buthelezi. Buthelezi, thank you very much for your time this morning. Your department, your committee rather, actually works and looks at where money has been apportioned when it comes to expenditure. You are the Committee on Appropriations. Let's talk about the speculation around budget cuts first. When it comes to the cutting, the austerity measures and all of that, it's something that has been hitting out at service delivery facing departments. That's education, that's transport, that is health. What would you like to hear from the Minister as an ANC MP and head of the Appropriations Committee as far as possible austerity measures and budget cuts coming in this MTBPS?
Thank you so much, Xolani. Good morning to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Perhaps before I come to your difficult questions, as ANC caucus in Parliament, I think we need to join South Africans and congratulate the Springboks for bringing the cup back home. That's very important. I'm sure if we were to look at the happy index, it has gone up. And for me, as looking at the economy, I think that should be leveraged so that we get a better outcome. But at the same time, the Proteas are playing. We'd like to wish them well as ANC caucus in Parliament and congratulate Banyana of their success. And then the basketball girls, they also did very well. That's very important because although we may look at it as purely a sports thing, it has got direct impact on what happens in the economy. But coming back to that, the fact that there are going to be some cuts in the budget is no longer speculation. The Minister of Finance has come out in public and he has said that. We're only looking at the quantum as to how much that's going to be. But again, it's also very important that we should understand where this comes from, right? Why this action by government in terms of cutting of some spending. says that we under-collected. In your introduction, you said that the windfall that we had before of coming from the mining sector is gone, right? So we under-collected. So it's no longer speculation. I think our point of view would be to say, look, while we understand there's going to be some cuts, cutting expenditure as a temporary thing, it can't be permanent, it can't be sustained, right? So while we understand that, two things that we'll say as the ANC is that we should be focusing on growing the economy, right? So those appropriations and allocations which talks to infrastructure, as we had said before, we think that those should not be tampered with. Because we have said, the President has said in many instances that we are going to use infrastructure spend to try and boost our economy. So when you deal with that, that's very important. That should be cut. Number two, safety net for the poorest of the poor, right? We should also make sure that whatever we do, we don't do it at the expense of the poorest of the poor, right? So we must make sure that there is that safety net in whatever form or shape it comes. It's very important that we should continue doing it. Let's demystify this thing of spending of grants, because it's always viewed as something that it's some money going down the drain. Just saying, it's not. You must say that to the retailers. When our people receive those grants, they go and spend them. It goes back to the economy. So the person who sells bread, the person who sells meal, the person who sells beans and so on, benefit. The money comes back to the economy, right? So what I want to stress this one, because there's this perception that when you spend on grants, the money is money down the drain. It's the money which helps, and a lot of even agriculture throughout the value chain. You'll see that money goes there. So it means about 40 billion rand goes back to the economy, so that everybody else benefits. It's not only the recipients of grants who benefit from that.
But do you think that there could be a possibility that the social relief of distress grant, which currently ends in March 2024, could be extended? And in your view, as the ANC caucus in Parliament, how much should it be extended by? Should it be permanent? And when you look at the social relief of distress grant, there's also talk about the basic income grant. Let's talk about those two grants and the ANC caucus in Parliament, their view as far as those are concerned.
You may find that the executives even having a better safety net to provide SRD or whatever. But as we're saying, that it's very important that as we do all these things, that we protect them. Whether it's in the form of an SRD grant, a BIG or whatever grant, it's very important that as we try to deal with the economy, the challenges of the economy, it's very important that we protect that, right? That's why I had to deal with this thing that South Africans should disabuse themselves. Some of them who like to see this grant as something. Obviously, a grant for me is temporary, right? We want those people to come back to the economy. Others, generators of employment opportunities, or as workers, want them to come back. So that intervention for us, it should be temporary, it can't be permanent. But you don't just leave people without making sure that they are going somewhere.
Mr. Buthelezi, thank you very much for your time there. The Standing Committee on Appropriations in Parliament, the Chairperson, Sifiso Buthelezi, saying we must look seriously at the basic income grant and the extension that we can expect next year as far as the social relief of a distress grant. Probably there will be more expectation and build-up from the parliamentary precinct, from the opposition benches, the FF, the DA and IFP, in the later hours. Back to you in studio.
Business editor there, Xolani Mbanjwa, thank you very much.